Black Royalty. My name is King J. I am joined today by a very, very special guest. His name is Honorable. He is a undergraduate in his junior year, CEO of Spacetime Social. And yeah, we're just gonna start getting into some of the things that he's done and been through, and myself and our companies. And yeah, let's get into it. So
Let's do it.
Talk just before we get started. I don't know anything about Spacetime Social. So what is it like about?
For sure. So Spacetime, it started off as a idea platform that allowed you to build communities around these ideas, right? But then we realized that, well, I guess I realized, and me and my team, we realized that like, if you have an idea, right, there's really two methods that you are the conventional routes at going about. There's really three, right? But there's mainly two. You want to build product, right? Or you want to build company. And I realized that the methods to doing either or is not the same, right? And I think that if you want to build company, then that really makes us like an incubator. And we didn't really want to support founders building companies because we didn't really have the expertise. We didn't have the money to do it. And it's not really our model, right? And then if you wanted to build product, then that means that you kind of have to have a very clear understanding on like specification documents. You need to know how to build it from through and through, right? So then what I ended up doing is making us like we call like a slight pivot. Is when you kind of make a slight change of direction. Is actually, so now we're doing business with companies, right? So we're saying, hey, companies, like, what problems do you guys have, right? So you'll post your problem in a challenge forum and whatever amount of money that you want to pay somebody to get the solution. And then we'll use open innovation, so crowdsourcing talent from universities to people who are already in industry, like there's like 200,000 people that just got laid off from tech companies. And then we get these people crowdsourcing talent to solve these problems. So we're an open innovation platform that allows our customers, which are companies, to post their problems, and then we connect them to solvers, we're calling them, to solve them.
To solvers.
Yeah.
That is an interesting idea.
Yeah. And I can, so like, if I was to just be more specific, right? Like, a lot of people don't really know the value of open innovation, right? But so if you look at, so like in 17, so actually the very first, like, that they say the very first open innovation method was in 1714, I think it was, or 1700s. The British Crown pretty much said, hey, we have like $1 million for anybody that can pretty much like travel across the Atlantic using a certain kind of like tool called the longitude prize, right? And then pretty much what that did was I called for everybody, because everybody wanted to claim this bounty of $1 million. So everybody tried to innovate. They came up with a solution. That team got $1 million, right? And then in 1914, how do you think that we got from New York to Paris in a nonstop flight, right? Same situation. They say you have $25,000 to anybody, which is worth about $365,000 now, to solve this problem. And then come to find out, like 10 to 15 people died on the trip there. But then there was somebody who was successful named Charles, and he ended up claiming this money from Open Innovation Prize. So we really realize is that if you really want to innovate, just make it a little bit of an incentive, right? And then that's how you really get a lot of the top products that you get out.
Okay, yeah, super dope. I get it. What do you know about Black Royalty?
Black Royalty. So I know that you had a couple of my boys on here. You feel me?
Just a couple.
And then Kaya too. So yes, you had a lot of my friends on the podcast just talking about Black identity is really what I really want to get. Really what I've noticed. And then I think the name Black Royalty in itself, I think is kind of like a how can you get back to that original state? You feel me? Yeah. And I think that's a lot what this book talks about. I guess like we're going to get into that a little bit later, but I think how you get back to that original state, that's kind of what I really kind of...
Nation of Islam. Huh?
Yeah.
You already know about it? You already know?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm at the mosque like every week.
Yeah, okay. That's what's up. I'm really trying to get into it, but, you know, I wasn't brought up into it.
Same.
So it's like I'm researching, and I look into Christianity, I look into Catholicism, and it's like it doesn't add up. I look at Islam, I'm like, okay, this is making sense. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So,
so let's go to the mosque. So maybe not. So I'm actually got a family emergency. I'll be in Oakland this week, and I'll be at the Oakland Mosque. But next Sunday, we can go to the mosque if you want. It's in San Diego. I go to the one out here if you want to just check it out for about.
You drive?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, we can go. So it's at so out here. So usually in Oakland it's at 10:00, but out here it's from 11 to 12:30. Okay. And then I actually have a meeting today with one of the ministers at 6:30.
This boy had two phones.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I got a business phone.
I got a meeting with one of the ministers, brother Charles Muhammad. Yeah, so him and I would be doing a lot of the lecture and stuff like that. But I know a lot about it, so if you please ask away. Okay. I love talking about that kind of stuff.
Probably for another video, but
no, for sure.
But I'm trying to think. What do you know about so you know about what like Black Royalty kind of does, but do you know like what our company actually is in a sense? Like what is it meant for?
Besides the podcast, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
It's okay. I was just asking. So the idea of Black Royalty is to allow a platform for everyone to be royalty. That's our motto that you've heard in almost every single video.
Yeah.
Everyone is royalty. I need to keep saying it. I've made gaming videos and stuff too, but like I haven't been saying it on the gaming videos. I really need to get back to that.
Yeah.
But the idea is to give a platform for other content creators, specifically of a minority. Now, it doesn't have to be Black, can be of any race, but
so just non-white.
We're definitely no. We're not saying that. We're not saying that.
We're saying with you.
We're just targeting minorities. If there were to be a white individual or an individual who wasn't a minority that wanted to try out, it isn't like we'll reject them. We'll take a look at their offer. We'll like tell them what we're looking for and ask them why they believe that they're qualified. It's going to be the same exact qualifications as if you were of a minority race, and we're not going to reject you. In fact, we look for anybody and everybody because, again, the idea is everyone is royalty. But the reason why it's called Black Royalty is to specifically challenge the social norms. Now, when you hear Black Royalty, there are certain people out there that'll think, oh, why not everybody royalty, or why not this royalty, or why not that? And it's just like, are you going to think it's just a name, or are you going to complain about like what the name actually is? It kind of challenges your thinking in a sense. Yeah. It empowers others. It doesn't undermine anyone else. And that's the whole idea. Everyone is royalty. I'm King J. You already know what it is. Mm-hmm. This is how I feel. I intend to empower each and every person. So that's our general message. Cool. We want all content creators of anybody. So anybody can come on and do a podcast just like you offered. Mm-hmm. Anybody can come in and do gaming. If they do music, we can set up a music thing for them. Yeah. I want to create a really large platform that just has tons and tons of mostly minority
just content
creators in general that want to share their talents, their message, their things. So that's what our business is.
That's dope, and that's actually really exciting. So I mean, if there's any ways that I can help, let me know.
Oh yeah, like we gotta collaborate now.
No, we got to. So like, yeah, and I think like again, like there's a couple companies that I don't want to name drop. We don't get no free promotion.
Yeah, no. Unless
it's Elijah Muhammad, you get all the free promotion. But no, there's a couple companies that I think that like you could definitely utilize and like take some pieces from them. And
I would definitely appreciate your help because while I am, or at least I believe I am, business savvy. Yeah, I don't have like super omega connections right now. Right. Like you said before about the building a product versus building a company. Right now, we are focusing on building the company. So we want good people for long term. So we have to build that really slowly. Whereas we don't just have a product we're selling. Yet merch coming out soon. You already know what it is.
I made merch too, so I feel you.
Okay. I might need help with that.
So hold on. I made these pendants as well. It says like I started a clothing company called Divine, and I have like this logo, and on the back it says HSW, Honorable Samuel Walker. So yeah, bro, whatever you need, bro. Like whatever. You feel me? I would love to help out.
Sounds like there's gonna be more meetings on the schedule. That's what it is. For sure. All right, though. Let's get into it. So one of the first things we wanted to talk about was the idea of Black leadership and some misunderstandings that kind of go into it. So what are your opinions and thoughts about some of the misunderstandings of Black leadership?
Yeah. So I mean, first off, I'd like to say, thank you for having me on the podcast. You feel me? It's a pleasure. But I would say that something that Elijah Muhammad and a lot of people talk about is that the difference between like Negro leaders and let's say Black leaders, right? And I think without putting much bias, I'm gonna just kind of be a messenger here. But I mean, if you look at the archetype of a Negro leader, right, it's somebody who is Black, right, by skin color, but they don't really fully have our back when it comes to actual real world issues. Or some people could even call them sellouts. I think that could be really considered along the lines of like a Negro leader, I would say. And then you have like people who are Black leaders who I would say like are the more like Fred Hamptons or the Malcolm X type characters that are kind of through and through like Black revolutionary.
What about the people who are like confused about that? Like people who have opinions that are like Malcolm X was that type of Negro leader where he didn't actually do anything, whereas he talked more, or Barack Obama even, where he was president but nothing really got solved. How can that be easily misconstrued?
Well, I would say, to push back, Malcolm X actually he did a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm not pushing. I'm just talking.
So like, I think that. So first off, I would say that was one of his biggest critiques of the nation.
Right.
Was that he felt that they could do more as far of actual getting up in arms and fighting physically with police, white supremacy, and whatever. Right. And Malcolm X, I would say, was a black leader through and through. And I think he just was an evolving character. But I would say like he is a black leader. And I would say Obama would be more of a Negro leader, right? And I would say Malcolm X, well, he actually did a lot of the intangibles, which I think that people need to kind of gear more towards, which is the fact that Malcolm X, who was known as Detroit Red, was a drug dealer, a pimp, a gambler, all the essentially like some of the worst things you can really be doing at a certain point in time.
Right, until he went and found the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Nation of Islam. I watched the movie as well as did my own research because they don't teach them in school.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Spike Lee didn't teach it well either, but he still taught it.
Right. But in the movie, it was shown that the Nation of Islam sort of abandoned Malcolm. Did that actually happen in real life to where they abandoned him because they thought that he was getting too powerful in a sense? Or like, what do you think, and how could that cause more misunderstandings?
Yeah, so I mean, first off, I would say when you say the Nation of Islam, right? Are you talking about from leadership, or are you talking about from the people who are essentially just like running rapid?
No, because he, at least in the movie, I'm only quoting from the movie,
for sure.
Right?
Yeah,
is that he represented at least leadership in the Nation of Islam, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put him in a position of power or helped him rise to it.
Yeah.
And then as his fame started to rise, he was garnering too much publicity.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the story, right? So long story short, right? Malcolm, so he opened up over 40 mosques in America in like 5 years. He rose to become the the national spokesman of the Nation of Islam in 12 years. And right before he was silenced, right, he was like at a prime, just doing everything, right? So Malcolm X was silenced because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked him to not speak about JFK's assassination.
Right, that's right.
And then he pretty much was like, he spoke on it. He said the chickens that came home to roost.
Right,
as a farm boy, I actually get pretty happy, blah, 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 blah. So then he was silenced for 90 days, right? Now, I think it's really important to know.
And that's when he did the trip to...
I'm pretty sure it happened right after, right? So then but it's important to note that during that 90 days, right, there was people within the Nation of Islam who were jealous of Malcolm X. Also, Elijah Muhammad's son. His name was Warif Deen Muhammad, who ended up separating in 1975 to short the lessons and essentially wanted to go more Orthodox Muslim or Islam, right? So pretty much there's people who were telling Malcolm a lot of lies. So for example, like I remember us talking over Instagram, like Erykah Badu posted 85%, 10%, and the 5%, right? So the way that it pretty much goes is that 85% of the people, according to the lessons, so the Supreme lessons, right? 85% of the people are deaf, dumb, and blind. 10% of the people are the wicked people that want to keep everybody in control, the people in power, right? And then the 5% of the people are known as the poor righteous teachers that actually want to, get the word out and teach people how to be righteous. Right. And I think that same model was applied to the Nation of Islam. And I think when it comes to Malcolm, is that when he was gone and he got dismissed for 90 days, right, he got silenced, right? And I think there was people that were feeding him lies, people that were telling him all kind of stuff that wasn't true. And then it ended up putting fire between the relationship between Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad. Right. I do think that there were some things that Malcolm did wrong, but I don't think I'm really in a position to judge, but I do think there were a couple of things.
So let's then take it back a little bit. Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring it back on was you mentioned the difference between Negro leaders and Black leaders. I kind of, while you mentioned some of the qualities, do you have any examples of what would be the difference?
Yeah, so I would say that a guy like Marcus Garvey, right? Noble Drew Ali, but I would say those would be considered Black leaders. And then I would say a Negro leader would be kind of like someone like Jesse Jackson per se, right?
Yeah.
And then, and you could even throw in Obama. I would just 2 for 2. You feel me? And I would leave it at that. And then I would also say, like, I mean, when you look at what they have done, I think is ultimately like how because for example, like the Most Honorable Louis Farrakhan, he pretty much says that the only way that you can judge a teacher is based off the quality of the students.
I love Farrakhan.
Right. So right. So like what I'm saying is, and I listen to Farrakhan every day. You feel me? But like, And I saw him in Savior's Day too.
You saw him?
Yeah, I saw him. Yeah,
right.
this past February. It was great. But what I'm trying to get at is like you have to look at the products of what these people produce. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you have Obama, right, and you have Jesse Jackson, which do a lot of like they say that they want to help out, but then the moment that a white billionaire takes some of the money, they want to change all the rhetoric.
Right.
Then you have people like Marcus Garvey, and then you have people like I said Marcus Garvey. Who's the other person that I said?
You said Barack Obama.
So like let's say Noble Drew Ali. So you have people like Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey who essentially have an economic program, a spiritual program, and a social program. And I think that is what encompasses what it means to be a Black leader. And you have a lot of Negro leaders that just may have a spiritual program, they just be in church and they don't really be talking about politics because they can't. And then you got some, Negro leaders that just want to pander. You feel me?
Okay. So here's my thing, right?
Let's get into it.
If I intend to create the business I have now of Black royalty, among the things that I previously mentioned, to be a content creation space for any minority, all minorities even, along with others that have a willingness to join with the same mission. If I ever were to reach a point where I was,
You will.
when I reach a point where I don't necessarily need to be directly involved, but I would also have the power to influence a large amount of people, would it then become my responsibility to do so, or would I not just be allowed to in a sense retire and go to myself? So in that difference, I in every way I could be a leader, or I have been a leader, or I am currently a leader. Even when I'm not leading, I'll be a leader. But will that condemn me to being one of those two slots that you mentioned?
So what you're asking me right now is a traditional like James Baldwin critic, right? Where it's like you have a lot of Black leaders or just Black people that essentially get to a certain level and then they be like, damn, like I'm good. Let me just retire. I mean, personally, I think it depends on you, right? I will say that as a culture, as a culture, we have a tradition of pretty much saying that if somebody makes it, then it's your job to come help out. You know what I'm saying? That's out there, right? I also would say that as a culture, whether you say you're African or copper colored Indian, I'm gonna just say indigenous, right? As an indigenous Black community, we're raised by villages, right? So historically, we don't really have that notion of just saying, you know what, I'm good. Let me just go. Like everybody raises it. So like I said, like you grew up with a mom and dad, whether you did or not. Like you still were raised by grandma, auntie, your little cousin, your older cousin. That's a part of being the Black identity. Right. So I kind of say that ideally, like personally, I would say that in my personal opinion, I would say that because that's the way I grew up. Of course, I'm going to put everybody else on when I get to that level, or as I'm progressing up there. So I would say that I can't really condemn somebody if that's what they want to do, because some people get tired. Like I would say, like James Baldwin, because he moved to France, and his whole entire thing was like I'm tired of white supremacists, and he, what I'm saying, I'm tired of white supremacy. I'm tired of this, and that. And a lot of leaders said, what, we're gonna go to France and we're gonna write and we're gonna do our things from there because they don't want to get killed. You feel me? So I think ultimately it's up to them. It's something that I would do. I guess I would have to be there to say. I guess I would want to be more on boots on ground. But I would say that ultimately, like, it is up to them. But I think the best thing to do is probably stay so people can see you.
Okay. So my next question would be then, for how long? Because, I said, 40, 50, I want to take care of my family first and foremost. Right. You know what I'm saying? So what age, is there a stopping age? Like Farrakhan is going to die doing what he's doing. Right. But, is there a limit, a restriction, an age where you can say that you're done without being like overly criticized? So, so good question. Ultimately, again, I think it goes back to being a teacher, right? Meaning like Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan, they could easily retire. They could have retired 20 years before they did or when they passed, and they still have a body of work. You feel me? And I think that's ultimately what makes the difference between like somebody who's like a student and that would then transition them to being a teacher. Meaning I believe that Malcolm X was a student. And he was getting to that teacher level because he had other people that kind of came under him. But at the same time, like, I don't think he really reached that pinnacle to the point that he had a whole entire body of students that were like, oh yeah, like Malcolm is my teacher, because Malcolm was teaching what Elijah Muhammad taught him.
You know what I'm saying? Malcolm didn't write really any books. Like Malcolm didn't have his own theology because he was echoing what Elijah Muhammad taught him. So I mean, I think that's ultimately like the ultimate. Like I'm an engineer, so we care about metrics, right? Mm-hmm. So if you say that you want to retire, or when I say that I want to retire, I'm probably going to retire when I feel that my students could essentially be better teachers than I am. You feel me? I think that's ultimately what it really comes down to, in my personal opinion.
Understandable. Yeah. Understandable. All right. So we can go on about this topic for forever.
Let's get the people what they want. I'm gonna share this a lot. I got everybody. I know some people I'm going to hear. It's gonna get a lot of.
It's good. I kind of want to. I'm gonna recircle it back and talk about some of our undergrad life, and we're both businessmen now, both entrepreneurs. Yeah. And after this, we're gonna be working together every day.
For sure. Yeah. But let's do it.
What led you to coming to this university, and then what led you to creating Space-Time Social?
Yeah. Okay. So first off, I would like to say so I'm from Oakland, California. Right. I went to boarding school. So you know Dame Dash is?
No.
So Dame Dash, so he's the founder of Rockefeller Records with Jay-Z and Benny Siegel.
I knew that.
Or Beans, but yeah. So I went to boarding school. I actually applied to the same boarding school, Dame Dash, and I almost went there. It's called South Kent, but I went to a school in California called Stevenson, and it was very different, right? So this is always close to reference. And I actually applied to that same school, but I went to a school called Stevenson in Pebble Beach, like Central California. So super rich, super white, really wealthy. And then USD was kind of like I came here to tour, and I knew a lot about HBCUs, but I didn't know too much about them to the point. I'm from Oakland, so we knew a little bit about them, but I'm also first generation. So my message for college is as much as it's going to be. You feel me? So yeah, I mean, I applied to USD, and then I didn't get accepted to USD off rip because of finances. So then I ended up getting a conditional offer where I can come after a year. So I went to a school called Menlo, a business school in Palo Alto, right next to Stanford. Did my year there, and then I just came here. And they're a 4-year too. But came here after, and then ever since then I've just kind of been here, and they have a really good engineering program too. So I'm an engineer, so that's why I'm here really.
So why is it that you're doing entrepreneurship and business? Engineering.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they go hand in hand together. If you look at some of the most successful entrepreneurs, a lot of them tend to be engineers, right? I mean, if you look at from the top companies from I'm gonna say Fang. So I don't know about the Netflix founder. But Apple, Steve Jobs was an engineer, but Wozniak was an engineer. Right. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he's an electrical engineer. You could say Tesla, Elon Musk, SpaceX. He's not an engineer by trade.
That's a different type of engineer.
Yeah, for sure, right? It's an engineer by trade,
right?
But not engineer by academic, but he's engineer by hobby. They call him, right? And then I grew up around entrepreneurs, and I saw people start businesses. I saw people do all kind of stuff. So ever since then, it's just been up.
Yeah, it's just been up.
It's just been up.
Really. I wish, man. Nah, I'm humble beginnings. I never had nothing for real.
Yeah.
I born and raised Missouri, St. Louis. I moved with my dad over in Vegas, and then my mom and brother were still in St. Louis. I'm skipping so many details, but basically I took a tour here. With an ROTC group over in Las Vegas, at Centennial. And I visited here, and they were like, "Oh, you can get the scholarship here. You can try." And being a senior in high school, you're just like, whatever. Whatever.
Just get me out of high school.
Not even. It's just like I'll never get that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'll never get that. All right, bro. And then my commander told me to apply for it, and I was like, there's no way. Yeah. And so I applied for it. I put it in. I was so doubtful of my own self that I put it in the day it was due. But I got accepted. Crazy, right?
Cool.
Came here. I saw people's. I got really motivated by seeing a lot of the African American population here show off their talents so much. Whenever I see them in shows or doing poems and stuff, and I started doing poems and other things like that, I was like, there's no platform, at least here, right, where there's a content creation base for all people to just show out their talents or be seen by somebody or anything like that. Everyone has to start from nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why does everyone have to start from nothing? It is kind of the sense that I was getting at. So I created this platform, and I was like, hey, if I could create a following, then other people could utilize that to kind of get that success and continue to pass it on. That's my main minnow, pass it on. Because as you mentioned before, as a Black people, our culture is to continue to take care of one another and pass it on. So yeah, that is why I created this.
No, cool. So there's actually a guy. His name is Kapara Ray. He's a electrical engineer from USD. Graduated, I think, in 2017 from Chicago, and he actually created a social media platform for like Black outlets. So I could definitely make that introduction. Him and I talk every now and then. He actually, I think, just got back from Japan yesterday, or a couple days ago. So yeah,
you got mad connections.
I got
I'm gonna need all these connections.
No, for sure. Yeah, he's doing some good stuff, and he's solid. He's a solid dude.
All right, for sure. So talk to me about Space-Time Social.
Yeah. So what I realized was it kind of similar to how you're saying that, like, if you have an idea, you shouldn't kind of start from nowhere. What I realized is that there's billions of dollars that are just left on the table in proposals, right? So name a company that I probably would know.
Apple.
Okay, so Apple, Starbucks, Nike. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, so there's billions of dollars of proposals, right, that are just left on the table. These are innovation challenges or innovation proposals, right? Like,
I've always been a little nervous about, like, I remember you posted on your story that you were attending like innovation challenges and things like that. I'm always nervous about entering that because like I don't have anything, what I'm saying? Right. So I'm not sure if this company's message would be able, not even be good enough, but like I wouldn't want to take away from someone else whose message is like help the homeless, and I'm like content creation. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately, like this is all about. I'll be more specific with you, right? So let's say you and I were going to get business together, right? Which hopefully we do, right? But let's say you and I are going to get business together. You'd probably be like, yo, like, I have this content creation company, and we need more ideas. So is there some kind of proposal that we can come up with so that we can get talent submitting ideas? Right, that's kind of that's really the model and how it works, right? Okay. Because right now you have companies, organizations, people with money, whoever it may be, everybody's going to have a problem. Whether that's going to be solving something in wildfires, or whether it's going to be, how to figure out how to get to space more effectively or efficiently, or when we get there, what we should do. Everybody's going to have these problems.
So you're trying to solve world problems here? Because that last one you mentioned was pretty huge.
Yeah, no, it's world problem. I mean, it could be anything, but world problem is like really the goal, right? So, for example, right, there's one of our competitors. His name is X Prize. A couple of days ago, they put up $11 million for 4 years for anybody that can come up and solve wildfires, just for solutions. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, this is a model that we have to adopt sometime soon, and everybody wants to innovate, but if you can provide some incentive, that's kind of where we're at.
But that sounds like you're in every single field, though. It sounds like you need engineers, you need scientists, you need biologists, you need a whole lot of
exactly
for that.
And that's why if you're asked for our vision is to use open innovation to advance complex technology to solve world problems. Right?
So would you? Yeah, I'm thinking of this in the video game aspect.
Oh yeah,
you're like the dude that's giving quests out to your own people. Like you're the guild master, and you're giving out the quests.
Literally, yeah, because that's the purpose of open innovation, right? Because open innovation pretty much comes from the term. It was coined by a guy. I can't think of his name, but he did he worked at Harvard, right? But it was what it comes from is pretty much saying that like, if you want to solve a problem, you have to do it from a multidisciplinary lens, right? So like I'm not sure like if you grew up in the hood or not, but like in Oakland, you feel me? Like that's where we grew up, and at the same time, like we are problem solvers every day.
Right.
But if you really want to solve problems for the hood, you got to use everybody. So grandma's perspective to little cousin's perspective to somebody who maybe even just moved out the hood, right? You need everybody's perspective. So when you have these large innovation challenges, or when you want to talk about how you made the iPhone or how you made, different institutions, they use perspectives from doctors, lawyers, to people who didn't get formal education. You have to use multidisciplinary perspectives to solve problems, and that's what our company does.
Well, that's also, since, content creation is going to be all these multidisciplines of various skills that you even can come in and develop, hopefully, is one of the things that I intend to do. But where I'm from, it was more about the hustle. It was more about, getting it on your own and then getting out. That's what it was about. At least in my time, I know my father did a whole lot of things to try to put the community together. But the only one of the lessons I learned from a lot of their stories and a lot of my family stories is that at the end of the day, they don't want it. Sometimes it's like that, and you can't save them all. So that again brings me all the way back to the beginning where we were talking about how, the difference between a Negro leader and a Black leader, right? Yeah. What if you continue to try to help the Black population and they're not well received?
That's fine, and that's why they say, like, you can force a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's not your job, right? And that's why. But also Elijah Muhammad, and they also say on the airlines, right? They say, when in terms of emergency, put your own oxygen mask first. And Elijah Muhammad says something very similar. He says, first, before you go into the community, you should give yourself the nicest things, enjoy the nicest foods, and have the nicest houses or the nicest whatever you can afford. That's what you should have the nicest of, and then whatever else is what you should do for other people. And I think that's something that a lot of leaders don't really talk about. They always say, like, you need to be selfless and give everything your all. Like, no, like, you need to make sure yourself is good first. If you have a family, make sure your family is good first, and whatever you do else,
I think that was also one of the mistakes mentioned in the Malcolm X movie. Again, I'm talking about the movie, but for sure. The idea was he had all this money, all this fame, and everything else like that. But as Malcolm X, but his wife and his child, they were still in an apartment in New York, I think. And they, why not get a house? Whereas the people that helped him get up in the Nation of Islam were all enjoying their luxurious, mansions and things like that. And so one of the problems he had at home was with his wife being upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, like, I would say, like, the thing about movies is, like, they kind of tell the story, like, in a backwards way. Yeah. So I can't reference the movie exactly because I've seen it a couple of times. So I don't want to, like, make that as if it was true because I don't think any of it.
I'm not. Yeah.
But in reality, I think that was another big thing about Malcolm. But I think you have to understand who Malcolm was as a character, right? Like, I think that he loved Black people so much that I think oftentimes you can make the argument that maybe he even loved them at more than his family at certain points in time, right? And I think that is just a dilemma of being a Black man or just being a person in society, where it's like, if you love the work that you do, sometimes the family just ends up suffering. And if you look at men in history, Black or not, men in history, their families end up suffering for a lot of the great work that they do.
Yeah, with military coal mines, especially during all of the, like slavery, going into emancipation, all that stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The man of the house law, man.
Yeah. Like, for example, like Marcus Aurelius, for example, who was one of the top Roman generals at a certain point in time. He's considered himself to be a Stoic, right? And a Stoic, they write, like, these, like, amazing, writings and, like, how to be. For example, like, one of them is, like, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, when don't be surprised by the way certain people treat you, because that's just how they are, right? It's very common sense stuff. But his son was apparently just like a menace. Like, just all he cared about was girls and drinking and all alcohol, and wanted to do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's essentially something that you just got to work on. It's like when you're out and you're having a mission, right? Like, sometimes, like, you're not there to, cater towards your family. And Elijah Muhammad went through it too. His son, like, Elijah Muhammad was killing it, like, talking to people, opening up grocery stores, opening up, Black business. Like, he had, at the time of his death, he had $80 million in 1975, right? Which is a lot of money. But then you see his son, some can argue that his son destroyed a lot of it because, again, that same kind of concept.
Right.
You feel me?
So then it not only extends to the people that you are trying to help, but your own family, if you're unable to be there. That also emphasizes the importance of being able to take a step back and at least starting with your family and moving forward. I don't have anything against anyone who's like, I want to put everybody else first, but it comes with its own dangers, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So my question to you, again, with the age when you can go and, when you should decide to do everything has its own, sort of time frame. But do you think there's ever a point in which a Black person can go up or get some form of status and not be criticized for each and every decision they make? It's like, if they help their family, they're not helping everyone else. If they help everyone else, they're not helping their family. If they're, not giving back, they're terrible people.
Well, first off, again, first off, Black people criticize everybody. Yeah. And they criticize their own community even more. And this is why I'm saying, if you go back to the degrees on the 85%, the 10%, the 5%, right? If I'm doing a speech, I already know 85% of the people are on the phone not listening. I know 10% of the people in the room don't like me. And I'll know that there's 5% of the people in the room that's going to actually be touched by the story. That's essentially the people that you should be giving it to. is that 5%. The 95% of the people, BS, right? That's just noise. And I think that's the way that we have to look at our community as well. There's going to be 90, when we talk about like Black economics, there's going to be 95% of the people are going to spend it on Trackhawks, right? And Louis Vuitton, cool, right? Or I say 85% of Trackhawks and Louis Vuitton. There's going to be 10% of the people that want to scam everybody. And then there's going to be 5% of the people that actually wants to get out there and make some real positive change. And that's just the cycle of life. So I'm saying, like, when it comes to like the time to retire, I think, again, like figuring out, having good discernment, figuring out who those 5% of the people are going to be, and just putting a lot more energy towards them as you possibly can, and put them in the position to be successful. That, I think, that's ultimately the play. But when it comes to criticism is good. If you're not being criticized, that means you're not doing something right. You feel me?
That's absolutely true.
I think that's fine. I mean, I think that's just Black community though. Like, people criticize Elijah Muhammad when they had nothing. People criticize Malcolm X within the nation when they had nothing either. That's just a part of life. And I think that's just like there's not one hero that you can name here. There's not one leader that has never been criticized by their own community.
Okay.
You feel me?
Yeah, no, most definitely. So, okay, I got a couple questions left, but I'll shorten them up. What is one thing you want to say, like, as a message to others, and advice for another Black person who's coming up or going through college or doing a similar situation as us, who wants to start a business but isn't sure, type of thing? What advice would you have for them?
So the first thing that I would say is, like, I would say read this book, Message to the Black Man. You feel me? Because in this book, it gives you, yeah, for sure. In this book, right, it gives you all three, right? It gives you the social aspect of life, which is essential to Black people because of our culture. It gives you the economic perspective on life, which is essential to Black people because of our culture. And it gives you a political aspect in life, and is essential because of our culture, right? And I think oftentimes, a lot of Black people like us, we want to say, you know what, we just want to be social, or we just want to be political, or we just want to be economic, like, oriented, right? But in reality, it's like a big ass Venn diagram, and you're right in the middle, right? You need to have every single component and figure out a way to apply it. In this book, it's one of the only Black books out there that actually has each one. So first thing I would say is read the book, right? And then I would just say study some people who've done it before, right? Because I think oftentimes, like, like, we get into college and we look around like, damn, like, there's not many of us here, but like, damn, like, there isn't many of us here, but that we've done it over and over again. If you look at Black Wall Street, for example, that was it had a bunch of Black leaders. But if you look at names, W.E.B. Du Bois was a Black man who ended up leaving, right? But he ended up having a lot of really good content and quality information about how to start a business and political and social aspects. Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad. So what I'm saying is, you got to study the leaders before, because that's where you're going to have to get. That's where you're going to get your empowerment. You feel me?
Right.
And I think that, like, we get in here and we say, damn, like, we don't see it. Like, yeah, we don't see it, but like, Black people have been on this planet for like 40,000 plus years, right? Or according to Elijah Muhammad, 66 trillion years, however you want to put it. But what I'm saying is that we've been at the top for so long that the top that we've been at the bottom is not even a slither in time. You feel me? So I wouldn't even like trip for some of the stuff you have on an everyday basis. I would just go back to look at your ancestors and figure out what they've done and how they've been very successful at it.
Right.
Yeah. And then start it.
Yeah.
You feel me? That's
most
part
definitely.
3.
Just start.
Just start. Like,
starting.
Like, it's not gonna be good. Like, if you
honestly,
man,
honestly, starting is the hardest part.
It is the hardest part.
It is the hardest
part. I think oftentimes, like, I think within our culture especially, but oftentimes people want to get to the 10-year plan without going through the first.
Without doing the baby steps. That's one of the most immediate problems I'm running into. There are a bunch of people after I started my business that have come to me, hey, I want to give you advice. I want to help you with this. And of course, I want to listen and accept any and all advice. But then, like, I'm getting exactly what you said, the 10-year plans, this isn't a good idea. And I was like, well, I have to do this first. I have to, you can't tell me how to sell merch if I don't have merch. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. And not saying, again, I want to keep my eyes and ears open at all times, at any time. It's just that, it's easy to get wrapped up in the 10-year plan and the 5-year plan and things like that. So I really do love that statement a lot.
No, for sure. Or even like, because I'm very, very tangible oriented, right? So first I would say read. The second I would say is study your ancestors, and that's something you could actually do. The third thing that I would say, instead of just saying just do it, I would say go to Google and type in a lean business model canvas, right? Then you're going to get a template, and whatever business venture that you have, fill it in. It's problem on the left, solution, value prop, customer discovery, On the bottom right is going to be the revenue streams. On the bottom left is going to be other forms of revenue. And then just fill it out. Put it in front of a customer, interview as many customers as possible, get one, and then go from there.
Man,
yeah.
For me, it was sticky notes.
I
had a couple of sticky notes on the thing, man. And then after that, it was a YouTube channel. Then it was an Instagram. Then it was, Discord, and it's only going to go up from here.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then I think and it's providing value. I would say like, then again, I don't want to say like I'm as if like I'm on the other side of it. Like I'm trying to do it every day.
Oh yeah, we're working.
We're working towards this. But I would say like if someone who's like trying to jump off the porch and go from 0 to 1, I definitely would recommend like studying, because like once you study everything, you feel uncomfortable when you know who you came from, and then just sitting on the couch. Like it feels weird.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So I would just say just go doing that.
Make sure you do all that you can.
Agreed. And I would say like regret is one of the worst things that people could have, and I guess I'd just say provide value. Yeah. So like for you, like within your space, like who would you say that your ideal customer is?
My ideal customer?
Yeah.
Anyone involved in Black business, anyone involved with sharing a talent or sharing a message, pursuing a dream. All of those people are people that I would love to have.
Yeah. So are you going to focus on videos first, or like when you say content creation, there's so many different methods of doing it. What exactly are you going to focus on first?
For now, I will be focusing on videos. So that would be music videos, gaming videos, podcasts is what I'm doing now. So I couldn't think of a name of it, but that's the main focus for now.
Got it. And then would you want them to upload content to your site?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. So the idea is to create as big of a following as I can, continue to grow every single day, and then be able to show off a lot of your talents, and create a contract with you, be able to, work with you and help you provide, create, learn, teach, all those things. So, yeah.
Cool. That's great. Got some thoughts, but that's what's up, man.
Of course. All right. So we've talked about a lot. I asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for me or anything you want to say to the Black Royalty Squad who's going to be watching?
Yeah. So I guess like within this Black Royalty, right? The realm. If you were to give me like a 10-year plan, well, actually, no. First question first. How are you different than YouTube?
How am I different than YouTube?
Yes.
It's less that I'm different from YouTube as much as it is, I want to become something that, is more reliable. I don't know if you've been on YouTube a lot recently.
Yeah, I use it every day.
YouTube has had a lot of issues with, the Black population.
Censorship.
In terms of censorship, in terms
of, Young Pharaoh is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Corey Kenshin, like, a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily right now, like I wouldn't want to be a competitor right now, but in the future I could be. Right now I just want to provide a platform that already has the guidelines, so I can tell YouTube, hey, these people are protected. These people are, they can do this. That here's what they signed. Here's what they did. They didn't do anything wrong. You can't, if they want to censor them, they have to get through me, type of a thing. And so that's, one of the things that I want to be able to provide, sort of like a safe outlet. And if I need to move out of YouTube, or YouTube does, too much, then of course I will move platforms or create a platform, whatever it is that I decide to do at the time.
So, are you still in ROTC?
No, I am no longer in ROTC. I have officially left.
Okay, cool. So let's say, I am a content creator. Let's say I do reviews on iPhones, right? Let's say I do that. And I'm, Black man, same person, and I want to come to you. Walk me through the process.
So the process would be, first of all, joining our Discord, joining our Instagram, things like that, so we can get connected with you. And if you are genuinely interested in joining like our program, our startup, what you'll do is you'll go through Instagram. We have, you'll go through Discord. We have a very large and intricate Discord that my editor coded to where you can interview from there. So there's a robot sort of application process where you can get everything you need to get into us before we even have to, speak with you.
Yeah.
And then your application, you'll be notified if your application is approved. We'll come down and talk to you over Discord and over, however means you wish to connect with us. And then we will interview you. If you get accepted, then we will draft a contract with you, and we'll put the terms up. And then we will agree, work with you, whatever it is it has to be, and then you'll just start creating on the platform.
Right.
That'd be fine.
So then what is that? So why would I come to your platform?
Why would you come to the platform? The main idea is that you wouldn't have your own, audience or society or place of being. And so we are here to facilitate all three of those things. That would be the reason that you come to me. If you already had a platform and you still wanted to come to me, you still could.
Yeah.
I feel like, obviously there would be, some amends to the contract that you can negotiate or move further, but that'll all be discussed, after the interview process and everything like that.
Right. So you want to get people who already have content.
They don't have to.
But you want to get their content out to a larger audience.
Right. Okay. So even if you already have an audience, we would have another audience for you, type of a thing.
So are you familiar with like distribution?
Yes. You're talking about in terms of product?
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. It's like a distribution deal.
Yeah.
You feel me? And I think that's like so this quick story. So do you know who Suge Knight is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, wait.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah.
And then do you know who? And then Puffy, P Daddy.
Yeah.
And then P Diddy. And then what's his name? Jay Prince. Okay. Yeah. So like, story has it. So you have the South, the East, and then the West. Right. They were about to do a big distribution deal, and then the feds came in and then broke it all up for all their music.
Yeah. No, I remember.
So I think that's a good way to go into, really, because I think, again, like why I've created my platform too, and I think it kind of how you're saying is like there's a lot of talent here, right? There's a lot of people that want to see your talent, but the in between needs to be repaired. I always like to call it the vehicle. The vehicle in between needs to be repaired, and I think there's definitely a market for it.
Right.
So I think like even if like you're looking more into like, okay, how can you distribute information? That way you're kind of acting like Magic Johnson. You feel me?
Right.
You know that meme?
No,
yeah.
You
know what I mean? That's kind of what you're doing. Like you're like getting involved.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Like that. Yeah. Okay, that's dope.
So we have actually very similar companies, just in different.
Literally.
Yeah. So that's it would be a pleasure to work with you.
Yeah. No, for sure. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
All right, for sure. You heard it here, folks. Black Royalty and Space Time Social.
Space Time. Yeah. So y'all can. Yeah, I'm gonna just a quick shout out. Y'all can give me at honorable.w on Instagram, also on Twitter as well. And then if you want to see more about my company. Let's shout out to LinkedIn because the LinkedIn is where it's at. Honorable, spelled HONOREBELS Walker on LinkedIn. You can look at my website, spacetimesocial.com, or you can, go to our product at spacetime.social. That's what you want to do. And then, so hit me up, open any questions. Love to do podcasts. Love to help people out. So, peace.
You going to put me on your podcast?
Yeah, when I get it going. But I got you, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody at Black Royalty. Please remember that everybody is royalty. Everybody. It don't matter who it is. Everybody is royalty. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this podcast. If you want to see more of them, hit the like. Put them in the comments. Tell them how good of a black businessman he is, and then let's get it. So thank you very much, man.
Of course, bro. Peace.
Entrepreneurship,
and I was able to see entrepreneurship at a young age.
I don't know why. I'm sorry. I don't know why this is doing this.
And it was very different, just like USD, all white, privilege, a lot of money, right?
Hold on one second.
Oh yeah, you good. Entrepreneurship, and I was able to see entrepreneurship at a young age.
I don't know why. I'm sorry. I don't know why this is doing this. Literally, I had like 2-3 months of prep time. I didn't put it until the day it was due.
Okay, so Apple, Starbucks, Nike, still got that thing coming up.
I don't know. I've literally turned it off. I don't know what's happening.
I'm gonna do what I could while I couldn't. Oh, but that bass drop.